Did Ben Johnson send a pretty clear message to Kyler Gordon today? And we got to talk about what we saw at OTAs. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the page. You do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. Only channel talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you stay in tune with us, man. And let me know, because I know most of you are diehard Bears fans like your boy. You heard what Ben Johnson said. Let me know in the comments below. Do you feel that he was sending a pretty clear message to Kyler Gordon? As, listen, the first press conference for OTAs is always Ben Johnson. This is the second time that we've gotten to talk to him, and I think that, you know, you've kind of gotten two good quotables from him. The first one, of course, buy stock in Luther Burden, and the second one where he's talking about Kyler Gordon, specifically asked about Kyler Gordon. He went on to say, look, you know, he's a great player when he's on the field, but we've got to work on the availability. And listen, that's not a secret to anybody, right? But when your coach comes out and is willing to put it on wax, which Ben Johnson always is, right? I think that it says a lot more to the player of, hey, look, he's telling you exactly what it's going to be, because he knows that the media are going to write about it. He knows that this is going to be the story of the day, and he was willing to say that in front of everybody right after, you know, getting ready to throw a phone out of the for the podium, which would have been he could have done so much more funny stuff when that phone started ringing. I would have been dying laughing if he had just chucked that mug, but he was very respectful. Shout out to Ben Johnson. No, but listen, at the end of the day, we know the level of player that Kyler Gordon is. I don't need to sit here and do the whole, let me tell you Kyler Gordon's numbers when he's on the field. We know the talent that he is. I believe he is the highest paid nickel corner in football, maybe the second highest paid nickel corner in football. I don't have it in front of me right here, but we know the level of talent that Kyler Gordon has. But the reality of the situation is it's now been 2 years, and Ben Johnson brought up the trust factor that goes into this. There hasn't been a lot of trust that's been able to be built with as good of a player as Kyler Gordon is. And the same can be said for a player like Jalen Johnson. Very good to see him at training camp over these last couple of sessions here. But when you look at Jalen Johnson being there and the trust that's being built now, this is yet another time where you're not getting that with Kyler Gordon. And of course, right, like, you're getting to see the player. You're getting to work with the player if you're Dennis Allen right now. But you're not getting to see, can I put this guy in this position on the field? That was almost a pause. And he go out there and perform at the highest ability. Now, we all believe that Kyler Gordon can. You put him out there, we know what kind of talent he has. We saw last season how it changed the defense, but I thought Ben was sending a pretty clear message. And look, it's not like Kyler Gordon's intentionally getting hurt, but the message is, listen, we want you on the field. We want to see you out there. We hope that you're able to work through this. But your job is not a given. No job in this NFL is a given. And unfortunately, that's where we're operating with Kyler Gordon right now. Not to say that he's not a good player, not to say there's not talent there, but how's Dennis Allen going to be able to trust that in some of those biggest moments, I could put you out on the field and you're going to be able to go out there and deliver everything that you've said you've been able to deliver? Heck, everything that I've said that you've been able to deliver, when I haven't seen you do it on the practice field. Now, again, we're at the OTA point of this. It is not the end of the world right now, but when your head coach is letting you know these things this early on. Remember, we got some of these last offseason, right? When we were talking about Tyreek Stevenson and some of the things he was going to have to prove to this new coaching staff. We were talking about Braxton Jones and some of the things that he was going to have to prove to this new coaching staff. Ben Johnson is not sugarcoating his words. He's not going to sit there and go, oh, well, you know, we think that he's going to be phenomenal no matter the situation. He's not Matt Eberflus in this thing. He's telling you exactly the spot that this team is in right now. And in the Kyler Gordon aspect of it, I think that there is a little bit of fed up attitude here with the availability for Kyler Gordon. I think that when you look at what Dennis Allen is trying to do, Kyler Gordon, very, very important. Heck, when he got here, he literally called him out by name as one of those key pieces. You know the level of player that Kyler can be in this defense. We saw it, but you only saw it for, I think Ben Johnson said, 3 games last season. You have to see more. And realistically speaking, we have seen him move on from players for less. Think about this. Jaquan Brisker, how well he played last season. Is he a Bear this year? Kevin Byard, everything that we saw from him leading the NFL in interceptions. Is he a Bear this year? Tremaine Edmonds having one of his best seasons of all time in a Bears uniform. Is he a Bear this year? This team is letting you know that being just average or being the best that you've been to this point is not good enough to make this team. You have to consistently go out there and prove that you're the guy that we can count on, that you're the guy that we can rely on. And heck, I hate to say it because I think the world of Kyler Gordon on this team, but they've moved on from better players than you in 1 year. Let's see if this is still just your job to get once you get out there. And I think that's kind of the message that Ben was sending. Hey, look, you're not out there to compete. The job's going to go to a guy that's going to be on the field, that's going to be available. I'll give you case in point. What we saw last season from Austin Booker. Austin Booker, I thought he was really showing some things in camp. I thought he was really doing some good things. He's going through the process. We start to see guys get banged up. They go to Austin Booker. It doesn't go great the first time. Austin Booker gets banged up. They left him on the shelf as long as they could. And then Austin Booker had to come back and reprove who he was to this team. Now, for better or for worse, maybe the Booker situation, some people look at it and say, when it comes down to Austin Booker, if you had him on the field more, if you had brought him back in the timeline you were supposed to bring him back, you'd have been fine, and you probably would have had more sack production for him on the season. All things that I think could be very valid there. But the bottom line is this is a results-based business, and Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen are operating in the results of what have you done for me lately. And unfortunately for Kyler Gordon to this point, that's not a whole heck of a lot. Again, I think that you see it when he's out there, but the question is, can he do it on a consistent basis? And heck, Bears fans are asking that same question. This is not just a Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen question. This is something we've been asking since Kyler Gordon got paid. Heck, since Kyler Gordon got here, the injuries have always been a part of it. Is this something that he's doing during the offseason? Is this something he's not doing? Is this something that he's not working on or maintaining? Right? Like, we don't have the answers to that, but I do think that you look at this entire situation for the Bears right now, and you see a piece that Dennis Allen continues to say is a massive part of our defense not out there. This is year 2 of this thing. He's not going to wait all year. He's not going to wait till you're ready. He's not going to wait till your contract's ready. He's going to say, let's see what you are once you get on the field. And if you don't get on the field, we'll find that next guy. And I think that may be tough for some people to hear because of how good we've seen Kyler Gordon be, but realistically speaking, I think it's a message that needs to be sent not only to Kyler Gordon, but to the entire team. And it's Ben Johnson maintaining who he has been the entire time that he has been here. So, like, I'm not losing my mind. I'm not losing sleep over it. Realistically speaking, at the end of the day, this is OTAs. But this is time where leadership is built, where you see the value. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing a heck of a lot of value out there from a lot of players on the field. Got a couple of updates for you guys as well. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let's get to some of these updates. I mean, my number one takeaway from today, talking about OTAs, and today was yet again a fine day, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and hype up the day and say, oh my God, we saw some of the greatest throws. We saw some really good throws from Caleb. We saw some throws that maybe were up and down, and even Caleb felt like weren't good enough. One thing that I took away from today, on a day where Caleb Williams is literally getting accolades from the world, makes the Madden cover. Yeah, there's going to be some people that hate it, but for the majority, you saw an overwhelming outcry of support for what Caleb Williams was doing. That you saw an overwhelming outcry of, hey, this guy's the next up. He's going to be the next big guy. He's going to be top 5. He's going to be top 10. He's going to be this level of great. He's going to take that next step. All of these things that are being thrown his way. And I saw a quarterback today that did not care about the Madden cover. I saw a quarterback today that did not care that he had a great season last season, because today there were some throws that Caleb probably could have hit. There was one throw on the right side to Colston Loveland that I thought could have hit. Colston broke open. Now he does get held on the play, and so maybe Caleb's holding on to the ball to try and time things up there, ends up overthrowing him a little bit more. Flags do come out, so it's a penalty. It moves in the right direction, but you saw Caleb Williams just walk off of the walk behind the huddle, I should say. I don't want to say walk off the field because he's still on the field, but walk behind the huddle where they've got everyone lined up. If you've ever been to training camp and you see that wall of bodies that they always do, they did one of those today. Walk behind it, visibly upset, grabs a Gatorade. Colston Loveland comes over to him and is like, hey, bro, like, we got it. We're going to connect on that next time. Don't worry. That's on me, yada, yada. And Caleb calms down, but you can see how locked in he is. You can see that the Madden cover is great. All of the things that you accomplished last year are great, but they don't mean a hill of beans if you don't come out and perform yet again this season. And so, to me, seeing Caleb Williams today, so frustrated at times with passes that he feels should be easy. By the way, they were passes that were on the sideline going, that's not on you. Like, that's a tough pass to get through. And it still found a way to hit. There's one pass he made over the middle, flying through, throws a bullet, hits Rome in the hands. Jalen Johnson is there for the PBU. It's just a bang, bang play. But he's mad at himself, or he's frustrated with himself for not completing that pass, not putting that ball in a better spot. That's the kind of growth, the kind of things that you can see from a young player early on. And to me, those are the things that you really can take away from OTAs. I thought Dan Campbell did a great way of explaining OTAs, right? He's like, look, I don't care what's happening around real football. You want me to, you guys hear the questions that are being asked at times in there, right? What did you see from X, Y, and Z? How did you feel about X, Y, and Z? Who do you think is going to be the best wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? At the end of the day, these mugs are out there to teach the system right now. They are not evaluating depth charts. They are not looking at who's going to be the starting left tackle. Right now, you are 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks into this process. If you weren't on the team last year, I don't know what this guy's going to give us this upcoming season. The hope is that he's going to be pretty good. Otherwise, we wouldn't want him on the team. And you can kind of see that with how most of the coaches are answering questions this year. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I think you can take away from OTAs is, okay, let's gauge the level of leadership on this team. Let's gauge the understanding of the system, just seeing, how guys are breaking, getting open and things like that, getting in and out of the huddle, simple parts of the game that everyone takes for granted, but probably are the most important parts of the game at times, because you can't run a play if you can't get out of the huddle. And then let's see, okay, who's healthy and who's not. Those are the only real takeaways that I look at. And when I look at Caleb Williams, I see a young man who is showing on a consistent basis. A little frustration. Let's lock back in. Let's get back on the field. Let's get it right. Just like that, they get back on the field. Caleb Colston pull. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of all you're hoping to see this time of year. And some injury updates. Of course, we talked about the Kyler Gordon one. Here's probably the biggest injury update of anything that I saw today. And I know a lot of people are going to look at the Rome Odunze thing where he says, I'm learning my new norm. I want to get to that in a second here. I am nowhere near as concerned as some people are out here. And I'll explain my reasoning behind that in a second. But the best thing that I saw today, it was a pass across the middle to Luther Burden. Luther Burden opening it up. He's in coverage. He's being covered by Jalen Johnson on that play. Caleb Williams delivers a beautiful ball to Luther Burden. Luther brings it in. Great coverage. Takes off. Of course, we're not tackling at this point, so that's why he takes off. And the play ends there. But what I saw was and we all know how fast we talk about Luther Burden. We talk about the speed he has, the ability to get open, things like that. I saw Jalen Johnson keeping up with that. And to me, for one of your highest paid players on the team, that is one of the most important updates that you can get today. You're seeing Jalen Johnson start to get that speed back that he had, 2 years ago? Start to get that feel back that he had maybe 3 years ago when he was an all-pro caliber player, right? Like, that's what you're hoping to see from Jalen Johnson. A Jalen Johnson who last season wasn't able to keep up with the speed guys at the end of the year, wasn't able to be great in coverage at the end of the year. And so, to me, like, of all the things that we saw today, those are some of the most important things. Now, of course, the Rome Odunze conversation is going to be a loud one in the coming weeks, because Rome Odunze basically said, look, I am 100. He said he's not 100% healthy, but he's getting used to the new norm. And what he means by that is, because he had a stress fracture in his foot. He essentially broke a bone in his foot. And there's some callousing that goes into that. He's never going to have that same feeling that he had before he broke that bone in his foot. And he came out and he said, but I'm used to my new norm, and every day I'm getting more used to it as I'm going through it. And I think that is very, very important, and a very honest answer from a young player who has shown you a ton early on in his career, but you keep going, okay, well, what gets us to that next step? Getting used to the new norm might get him back to what we hoped he was going to be with the deep balls and the contested catches when the Chicago Bears drafted him. When you look at Rome Odunze, and at times last season, he kind of opened up about, look, yeah, I was banged up last year. There were times where maybe you lose a little bit of focus because there's some pain in the foot and things like that, but I'm not using those as excuses. I'm getting used to my new normal. And to me, that's the best that you can hope when you're dealing with NFL players. Do you think DJ Moore feels the same way that he felt his rookie year when he didn't have that much wear and tear on his body? Do you think Caleb Williams feels the same way that he felt post 68 sacks? Do you think that Montez Sweat well, clearly, I was going to say Drew Dahlman, but I guess Garrett Bradbury or, Darnell Wright feel the same way that they felt before? No. Every time you go through something, you have to get used to what your new normal is. And realistically speaking, it's really just being comfortable enough to go out there and be the player that we saw you be on display. I thought a great example that he used was Keenan Allen with his AC joint. If you've never seen his AC joint, go Google this man's AC joint. It literally sticks up. It's very, very weird. It's one of those things that I look at and I'm just like, you probably should have got that fixed, brother, but he didn't care about it. And all he did was go out there and get used to his new norm. And you know what happened? He's one of the greatest receivers that we've ever seen. Probably a top 25 receiver in NFL history. You know what I'm saying? Like when you maybe even higher than that, 25. I'm trying to be generous because I'm not thinking about anybody, but either way, you get what I'm saying, right? He's one of the elite receivers that we've ever seen hit a football field. And realistically speaking, that's most of his career with this injury. And so, like for me with Rome Odunze, I don't think that it means he can't go back to being a dominant force. I don't think it means that he can't go back to what we saw at the beginning of the year. Remember at the beginning of the season last year, before the injury happened, Rome Odunze was one of the best wide receivers in football. The question is this new norm going to get comfortable enough to the point where he gets back to that form? I think that the fact that we're already to a point where he's like, yeah, I'm getting used to it. I understand it. And Courtney Cronin dropped an article today where she was talking about the recovery and things that he's been doing to put himself in better shape and to get himself prepared to get back on the football field so that he doesn't have these issues anymore. Those are things he's probably going to have to do for the rest of his life, in his football life, I should say. Those are things that are fine, right? We see that all the time. I'm not losing my mind over it. And I know some people are going to hear that quote or see that quote from Rome Odunze and go, oh God, this is the worst thing. You don't want to hear this for your top 10 overall pick. Actually, I do. I would prefer that he never gets hurt, but I don't know if anybody knows this. He plays football. He's going to get banged up. He's going to get dinged up. I would rather know that I've got a guy who can adjust to what normal is and try and be able to get himself back to that level of play that we saw early in last season. Through the first 5 weeks of the season, he had the most touch. He was tied for most touchdowns or something like that, and was dominating in yards and truly looked like a number one wide receiver. Well, how do you maintain being a number one wide receiver? You fight through injury. You fight through the pain. You figure out how to make things as normal as possible for you. And so I didn't feel like it was the end of the world when we heard that. In fact, I felt like, okay, good to see that he feels like this is, at least, as he said, a new normal. It's not normal for where he once was, but it's normal for where he is right now. And you know what he's showing on the field? That normal is forming a really, really good connection between him and Caleb Williams. I talked about it with Courtney on today's Chicago Bears podcast, which I think is posting tomorrow morning, so stay on the lookout for that. I talked about this today with Courtney Cronin. The number one thing for me with this camp that we've taken away, probably the biggest thing overall, not one time have I said, they really just weren't on the same page there. There's new receivers here. Xavier Thomas, Luther Burden, of course, back for a second OTAs here. Rome Odunze back with Caleb Williams for a third one. Colston Loveland back for a second one. At no point did I go, they really weren't on the same page there. And it's not a shot at DJ. It's just a constant conversation that came up last season. Now, when there's pressure, when there's pads on, when there's defense in the area, is it going to be a little bit tougher for you? 100%. Like, I'm not saying that it's not. But at least we're seeing Caleb Williams' eyes going to where the receivers are supposed to be, and it doesn't seem like anybody is on a different page than where Caleb is. which I think is going to be massive for this upcoming season when you talk about continuity. But hey, man, let me know how you guys feel down in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love as always. Sorry for the late OTA update. Like I said, I got back probably 5 minutes before I recorded this. So I'm going to holler at y'all later, man. Better. One love.